Hello and welcome to session 4 of the ADHD workshop for CAM's Central and South Neurodevelopmental teams. This session will be looking at ADHD in school. Before we start the session, here's a short recap on the last topic of managing behaviour at home. Firstly, pick your battles, stick to a few clear rules, stay calm, better to walk away from the situation depending on risk, try to look for triggers using the iceberg technique, use logical consequences, focus on immediate praise and rewards, and support siblings. This session will focus on ADHD in school. Children notice when they are not the same as other children being able to manage in the classroom, and they may experience low self-esteem because they know they are hyperactive or distracted. And these behaviours are behaviours that can get them into a lot of trouble and they cannot help it. Similarly, some of the issues teachers commonly report include distractibility, fidgeting, can't stay seated, starts work but doesn't complete it, cannot follow instructions, disruptive, finds group work difficult and may become frustrated easily. Young people with ADHD are not being challenging on purpose, they just have different types of needs and strengths. Remember, ADHD can also be considered a superpower, and channeling your young person's energy in positive ways can improve their mood and relationships with others. Young people with ADHD benefit from specific strategies to help them navigate their daily lives, minimizing their distress and consequent behaviour challenges.
What can schools do to help? As a parent, we hope you've enjoyed watching your child progress through their development and can identify what makes them unique and what they have a zest for. Academic talents are quickly identified in school and your child is given lots of praise. However, it can be what they struggle with that draws a teacher's attention, and that is a good thing. They are teachers and they want the best for your child in the context of the classroom. As a parent, you probably have noticed some differences in your child's physicality, social and emotional development compared to other children their age. At school, teachers may come to you or you have gone to them because it appears that they don't want to learn, that they can't wait for instructions, that they are always on the go, they're daydreaming, and their name is constantly being called by the teacher. They may also be having difficulty maintaining friendships. Your teacher has usually identified your child as a person who may need extra help and talk to you about appropriate support. Your teacher will be happy for you to make an appointment and for you to talk to them about your concerns when carrying out academic tasks at home. Sensory circuits. Some schools use sensory circuits to prepare the young person for the day ahead. If you think your child requires further assessment of their sensory needs, then consider consulting a sensory specialist. Many people have difficulty processing everyday sensory information. People with neurodevelopmental disorders may have heightened difficulties. Any of the senses may be over or undersensitive, or both at different times. These sensory differences can affect behavior. A person who struggles to deal with everyday sensory information can experience sensory overload or information overload. Too much information can cause stress, anxiety, and possibly physical pain. This can result in withdrawal, challenging behavior, or is sometimes described as a meltdown. It's important to remember that sensory strategies can be regulating and calming as well as alerting. There are simple things which you can do to support a young person using a sensory framework. Do not judge the young person or get cross with them. Consider making small changes to their environment. Think sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, balance, body awareness. What are your young person's likes and dislikes in these areas? What calms them and what alerts them? Use strategies that are tried and tested when in crisis. Don't try anything new in these situations unless you really have to. Exploration should be reserved to when the young person is settled. Fiddle toys. Children with neurodevelopmental disorders often need more intense input for the same benefits, keeping awake, being alert, and attentive. Fiddle toys can appear as though the child is distracted, but can actually be helping them to concentrate. Just remember, any item could be distracting to a fellow pupil, so it is a matter of finding out what is helpful to the ADHD person. General classroom strategies. Managing distraction. Physical position in the classroom is important. By a door or a window is not helpful. The ADHD young person needs to be seated somewhere near the front where the teacher can easily get eye contact, somewhere where it's easier to notice when the child is staying on task and working well, so that there's an opportunity to praise. Managing disruption. Consider the use of movement breaks and exit cards. Support with organisation. Notice the early warning signs that your young person is starting to become distracted or more impulsive, and talk with them about what helps when this happens. Could you have a code word or a signal that it might be time to take a break or to use a particular strategy? ADHD brains have to work really hard to process all of the information it is presented with. This can be overwhelming and can make them feel upset and stressed. Try to limit how much information is given to the young person at one time, allowing their brain time to work it out. Regular energy breaks are important. Don't force your young person to keep all that energy in. Allow them to let it out, but set limits if you need to. One-page profiles. One-page profiles are now being used regularly in schools. They are helpful as young people move from year group to year group, part-time teachers, and transition to secondary school and beyond. They offer a degree of reassurance to the young person and their parents that their teacher is aware of their strengths and how school can challenge them. Education Healthcare Plans, EHCPs. In slide 5, we discussed schools beginning to identify a need to support your child's academic progress. Then we reviewed a special education needs, SEN, to formalise this goal and carry out plan, do, review cycles in meetings. As mentioned before, once documented evidence has been gathered at least twice, an application can be made for an EHCP. An EHCP replaces the previous statement for special educational needs. These can provide support and funding for a young person up to 25 years old. The application process can be difficult and time-consuming, up to about 20 weeks. Schools and parents can apply for an EHCP as well as a young person over 16. Not all children need an EHCP in place, and a diagnosis of a neurodevelopmental condition is not a guarantee for an EHCP. CENDIAS, formerly known as Parent Partnership. CENDIAS is a council-run service to provide impartial advice for parents or young people with special educational needs. They can help in the process of applying for EHCP plans, help improve communication with schools to improve collaboration, and advise you on your rights. They also put on roadshows and workshops around the area. What support can you give as parents or carers? Routine and structure are really helpful for young people with ADHD, but compromise can sometimes be necessary. Their limits may change for lots of different reasons, and so a degree of flexibility is usually helpful. Sleep can be really tricky for young people with ADHD. Try to have good sleep hygiene practices in place to promote it as much as possible. Tiredness can trigger an increase in inattention and impulsivity. A good diet is important, particularly if your child takes medication, which can sometimes suppress their appetite. Keep your young person well hydrated and supplied with healthy snacks and regular meals. It's not good for bodies and brains to run on empty, and without food and fluids, difficult behaviours may get worse. Help with homework. Help create a study space that is away from too many distractions. Help to break down tasks into more manageable pieces. Help create realistic targets for the day. Praise their efforts, not just the end result. Using rewards can help keep motivation going. Have access to fidget toys. Help to keep track of the homework and when it's due. Fit homework into the daily routine. Help check over the homework and ensure completed homework gets handed in. CAM's input and school. In the process of diagnosis and reviewing medication, it's important that we have school feedback. Copies of CAM's clinic letters can be shared with school, which offer recommendation and advice on classroom management and medication. Recommendations and advice will also be delivered through telephone calls, emails, and meetings. The CAM's relationship with schools and families is essential. Transition to secondary school. Secondary school transition can be quite an anxious time for parents and young people, particularly if the young person has additional needs. Good communication between the primary and secondary schools can really help the process, including what strategies are currently used. Using the one-page profile can help with this. Arrange additional visits for your child to become more familiar with the new environment. Talking to your child about what they are looking forward to and what they are worried about can help. Have a copy of your child's timetable. Most schools have set up apps where parents can look at their child's timetable and find out what homework they have. This is very helpful for making sure they have the right equipment, books, PE kit and cooking ingredients, etc. Summary. Schools should put appropriate support in place, e.g. seating position, making sure that the young person has not missed part of the information to carry out the task, and praising what's been carried out, not just the completed work. Good communication between schools and parents is invaluable via email, home school books, etc. Tell the teacher what went well at home so they can further praise, and ask them to tell you. Keep information in front of the child positive when talking to adults. Children should be supported with organisation, have efficient classroom arrangements and aids such as fidget toys. Sendias may be helpful to parents with ensuring their child has appropriate support in place at school. Questions to think about. What difficulties does your ADHD child have in school? Could you suggest to their school that they try some of the strategies discussed? If so, which ones? Are there any ways you could improve communication with your child's school?
If you have any questions or comments on experience that could help other parents, please bring these along to the live question and answer session. The final session of the ADHD Parent Workshop will look at ADHD and the role of medication. There is no pre-recorded session for this one, so you will just need to attend the live Q&A session with one of the doctors from the neurodevelopmental team. You can find the date and time for this session on your invitation letter.